wants to say anything wrong here. No one
don't
wants
have to cost that much money.
No one wants to put a step out of place. They're not so much rehearsed events, but you don't want to be embarrassed. And no world leader wants to say the wrong thing to President Trump. That's not going to happen tonight because, you know, Scott Morrison isn't coming into this dinner cold. But in the past, Vegemite has been a bit of a sticking point.
OK, you also remember when Lady Sonia McMahon turned up
that
here.
That
dress, they're still carrying on about it. Laura looks back at, well, the many interactions Australian Prime Ministers have had with presidents at state dinners.
At the White House in Washington.
1971 and the Washington inner circle is stunned.
The split evening dress worn by Mrs McMahon attracted most attention and created international publicity.
Sonia wore a gown that became known as that dress, described by the Washington Post as one of the most talked about items of clothing ever to be worn at the White House. It's reported that dress created headlines at home and around the world. White House social scene writers declared it scandalous. Husband Billy McMahon claimed he chose it because people wanted to have a squiz at Sonia.
I just felt it was the dress I wanted to wear and I felt right in it.
For pomp and ceremony, nothing quite matches the welcome given by George W. Bush to John and Jeanette Howard. A red carpet arrival and greeting from the President, then the glamour and indulgence of a formal White House dinner, with the guests of honour making their way down the staircase and into the grand foyer of the White House to be greeted and seated. Toasts of mutual friendship and admiration.
So, Mr Prime Minister, Laura and I offer a toast to you and Jeanette, to our allies and to the great people of Australia.
To the enduring friendship of the people of Australia and the people of the United States.
In 1966, President Lyndon Baines Johnson honoured his good mates, Prime Minister Harold Holt and his wife Zara, and received in return the promise of Australia's strong ties to the United States.
I hope there will be a corner of your mind and heart which takes cheer from the fact that you have an admiring friend, a staunch friend, that will be all the way with LBJ.
But as photo ops, a White House one-on-one and official dinner is just too great an opportunity to pass up.
Mr Prime Minister, Mrs Fraser, our Australian friends, we've hit on only one minor snag, and that happens to be sporting competition. Now, the America's Cup, I understand, that's friendly. We always win. Well, I'm delighted that Prime Minister Bob Hawke has been able to come to Washington so early in his administration. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to see you. The first head of state to visit us since the inauguration.
Mr President, I thank you for your hospitality.
Hi, how are you? Hey, it's good to see you again. It's great to welcome you all again, to have you here. And this is visit number 3.
They have a sign in Perth, Mr. President, I saw last year when I was there. Great big posters all over the town. It says, what's the difference between the America's Cup and a boomerang? And then the answer is the boomerang comes back.
Bob, smooth sailing on the rest of your trip and on the journey home.
Occasion, Australia has returned the compliment of a state dinner with the nation's first and so far only female Prime Minister Julia Gillard hosting a banquet for President Barack Obama.
You often don't eat because you are so focused on your work that you forget to eat, and she wanted to make sure that we fed you well in Australia.
With the President responding in kind, noting that Americans sometimes strike language difficulties in communicating with Canberra.
I know there's some concern here that your Australian language is being Americanized. Tonight, with your permission, I'd like to give it a whirl.
But presidential meet, greets and eats can be fraught with embarrassing moments for the Australians.
He has respect for the Australian people, respect for Prime Minister Trumbull.
Somebody said, don't you and John Howard appear to be so close, don't you have any differences? And I said, yeah, he doesn't have any hair.
I'm very grateful for Prime Minister Rudd's friendship.
I love Vegemite and...
It's horrible. You smear on your toast for breakfast. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Let me begin, Prime Minister, by thanking you, the people of Canberra and all of Australia. I know this is called the land down under, but after only a day, we all feel like we're on top of the world.